Hello, my friends. Today I want to talk about Pride Month and is it really sinful and what's going on there. My name's JC and I teach the physical side of ascension. And so that's how I want to address this situation. People say that Pride Month is a sin and that lifestyle is a sin and just being in that community is a sin. And when asked about it, they don't really have a clear-cut answer. They're just like, well, because, God made us this way. So I want to tie this into what that has to do with ascension and enlightenment. Okay, a lot of people believe that is just a gain of knowledge or becoming self-aware. And that's not quite true. There's more to it. Okay, there's a real physical, biological aspect inside your body that you go through and produce an oil inside your body every month, and you partake of this oil. And so learning that process and actually doing that is enlightenment and ascension. Okay, and it's not some magical stuff where like some other planet's going to be created and you're going to zip over there or anything like that. No one's going to come take you away. No one's going to come save you. Okay, this is something that you have to do. So when you are living in this material world, you are living in a lifestyle that stops this magical fluid that's rejuvenating. It stops it from being produced in your body. And it doesn't matter if it's whether it's Pride Month or you're hurting people or you're about material things like cars and houses and fancy jewelry and stuff like that. When you are about anything that's material in an extreme way, right? We all have to be somewhat materialistic. We need to eat and shelter and clothe, right? But I'm talking about extreme materialism, which is what Pride Month is. Because you're being prideful and boastful about being sexual in an extreme way. It's not just because I've been to Pride Month. It's not just saying, hey, we're homosexuals. It's way more than that. And so when you're boasting that you're about material things, then you're pushing yourself away from the divine, and you're bragging about it. And our whole goal is to connect to the divine. And yes, the divine is inside you, but you can meet the divine face to face. And don't let people tell you that you can't. People tell me all the time, oh, no one can meet God and live. It says it in the Bible. Well, it also says somebody did do it in the Bible. And I did it. So, and I'm the lowest man. So if I can do it, you can do it. Anyways, let's go on. So is it anti-life? It's anti-life because you're not producing children. And some of you, yes, you've had children and, but for the most part, it's anti-life. And a lot of people in that community are for abortion also. And that's definitely anti-life. And it's not just that God is about life. The divine is life. How do you think you're here? And we are in the age of life and a celebration of life. They're lying to us about everything. We don't even know what time it is. So the grand ages change over about 2,600 years. But how we measure that, how do you measure a circle? You have to have a starting point. Our starting point is the spring equinox. That's the true first of the new year. Okay, that's in the spring, usually around March 20th. So you go outside and you watch what constellation the sun rises in. And that's how we mark it. And right now we are still in the age of Pisces. And if you look at it, it doesn't look like two fish. It doesn't look anything like two fish. It looks like a set of ovaries. So on that morning, when the sun rises, you have the sun coming out of the vagina in the sky. So this is as above, so below. This is a celebration of woman and fertility and having children and life. That's what this is. And living an anti-life type of way goes against creation itself. And that lifestyle promotes wasting your seed, because it's not just the LGBTQ community. Straight people do it too. Have you seen the porn industry? It's insane. Everyone is promoting you to waste your seed. And this process with this rejuvenating fluid on a monthly cycle works the same as in men as it does in women. So ladies, you have this cycle in you also, and you have glands down here, and you produce fluids also. Okay, so you want to conserve those fluids just as much as the men do. And so because this oil starts in your brain, and it has to go down through your body, and it mixes, and it goes back up into your thalamus. So when you're out here just having sex all the time and throwing yourself around and throwing your seed around all over the place, you're wasting your fluid. And that's another reason why this is not being created within you. Okay? And you don't have to be celibate all the time. Catholic priests are supposed to be celibate all the time. And I believe that they've lost their way. They don't even know why anymore. And from my personal experience, you don't have to be celibate completely all the time. I know people are, but that's very hard to do. And it's also anti-life, right? We're meant to procreate and have children. So there's a time to have sex and a time to withhold. And it also makes it more personal when you do withhold. And those moments are more intimate with your partner. And it's not just a random every morning thing that's meaningless. It becomes meaningless, and you're sharing your energy and I don't know. It's just not good, right? And so I personally conserve half of the time, half of the month, at least 2 weeks, week and a half, 2 weeks before my cycle starts. I think the older I get, I'll probably start pushing that out more. Honestly, for me, it's hard to have sex now anyways, because I used to be, I don't know how to say it, not very good. And once I learned that the divine was in my partner, that changed. And I could barely even make love, because you suddenly have this realization that this is the divine right here. What are you going to do with that? How can you make love to that? It's very difficult. So that's my thoughts on it. They talk about raising your vibration. Raising your vibe has to do with your thoughts, but there's also a real physical aspect to that. Again, that's what I teach, right? The physical part of ascension. And so the cells in your body have these little hairs, these little spirilla, they're called. And you have like 6 or 7 of them. And when you're in that material world and you're pushing yourself away from the divine, you might be lucky if you have one vibrating. So when you push yourself towards the divine and you're working towards ascension and you're working towards positivity and positive thoughts, becoming more of a positive person, more of those spirilla start vibrating. And the closer you get to the divine, the more you get active. That 7th one's pretty hard to get going. So raising your vibration is real. It's not, you remember, you're a human, you're a vibrational being. Okay. And so those thoughts affect your water body and your vibration. And so you want all those spirilla working for you. And that helps the oil be produced. Because if you only have one or two going, it's not going to work. And so your goal is to get this oil flowing through your body. And there's techniques for it that I go over and all kinds of stuff. So that's what's going on with Pride Month. Okay, it's not necessarily being gay or something like that. Because I know some people can't help that, right? And I have thoughts about that too. Like when they put 60% extra estrogen into baby formula, what did that do to people as they grow up, you know? So I know, you know, and there's other things too. And sometimes it just naturally happens that way. I get it. You know, like I said, this isn't a place of judgment or anything like that. I am not perfect by any means. I've never been perfect. People think you have to be a saint or something to be enlightened, and that's just simply not true. That's not real. They don't even understand the physical process. So, again, you don't have to be perfect. And if you mess up, you know, that's okay. Just pull yourself back together and start doing the work again. All right. I love you, my friends. Until next time.